Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel for another video on Marvel Contest of Champions, and this one is a sort of rant, sort of dissection, sort of debunking and everything in between, and really kind of talking about this month within Marvel Contest of Champions. So what really kind of kicked off the end of April and what really starts of May through to the end of May. And initially I want to talk about this event here, the Last Stand Save the Battle Realm, the kind of Infinity Stones type event, and the general feeling and consensus from the forums and other people's thoughts on, well, in particular, this whole kind of Iron Man. It's quite apt that I'm wearing this t-shirt, but the Iron Man Mind Stone type issue with Havoc and just event in general. When this event began, I had a lot of high hopes that this would be one of those events that was, once you got these Infinity Stones, things would be a lot more easier, and especially with the fact that you get a certain champion, having an Infinity Stone, as we know from like the movies and what I'd like to say expectations, I'm saying this with a smile. You kind of go like, okay, so I've got an Infinity Stone. That means the character is going to be a lot more powerful. So even if I've got a 2-star, 3-star, 4-star version, having that Infinity Stone would be able to plow through this content. It's not the case. And I'm not at that point of saying, okay, well, it's going to be like everybody gets to power through. Everyone's going to be a smash through epic with these Infinity Stone wielding champions. But it does draw a line of a lot more difficult content in game, the aspects of this being very much a skill orientated game, your fun and enjoyment side of things, and this being a game for everybody at different skill sets, and whether or not you are beginning to get in the game or you are an end game player. Do you feel that this is a really negotiable, a really kind of fun and fair type event? For me personally, I feel the answer is no, but obviously I will welcome this up in the questions to the comment section of whether or not you feel this is fair, and it'll be an ongoing debate, I believe. But that being said, the rules still apply with this. If you get hit, you're more than likely to die, even if you've got a 5-star version. Now, I had a bit of practice. I thought I'd just go in and just kind of see what this is like, because I haven't really messed around with this event, because I'm just not really into it. There's a few bits of content this month, apart from bounty missions, which I really dug. I thought that was an amazing addition there, but it's a case of sometimes I feel that Kabam, when they get it right, and even somebody said in my live stream yesterday, when Kabam get it right, they get it really right. When they get it wrong, they get it really wrong. And the point I was trying to get to is that if you make a mistake, you die. This is Master at the moment. Same thing applies. I went in here, had a little bit of a test, and you make one mistake and you die. And it does frustrate a lot of people, especially what I've read in the forums and what we'll be going over to in a moment. It just pinpoints the fact that even if you have a higher ranked version of certain champions, you make one mistake, you die. So this very much feels like it is a skill orientated event. Yes, you can go out and come back in again, but it's just, is it very much a waste of time? And for the rewards that you get as a result, quite possibly that the answer is yes. Do bear in mind, a lot of this stuff you could grind out for free in other areas of the game, especially this month with, let's just face it, another load of slightly difficult content. So you could take it or leave it if you wanted to. Especially with objectives giving you another option to get those Last Stand crystal shards, which, let's face it, in some cases we've not seen a great return on those particular crystals, especially for 10k per crystal. But a lot of these crystals have been a bit trollish. I myself went for, I think it was one of these or maybe two of these, and in both ones I went for, I only got 10k gold, especially with a lot of players like pointing out the value, like they've ranked up a champion, they spent a lot of gold. Spinning out one of these or popping one of these didn't really give the return that they were hoping for, and I'm not saying you should get a return on it. I'm just saying that this is something that you kind of go, okay, is this something a little bit more valuable coming my way for the grind? Especially when you're considering there's very little on offer for this content. And okay, so there's 5 if you count the completion and explorations. There's 5 crystal attempts at the greater ones. Are you going to pick up anything remotely good? I really don't think a lot of players are picking up anything good from these crystals. It did seem a little while ago that people were actually trying to grind out using the Soulstone, I believe, with Captain America and trying to do that lane. We're still experiencing the Havoc bug. And also trying to go against other lanes as well with, well, just the Soulstone with Captain America. Some people have just like muscled through it. Others, I think, have waited or kind of just understood the BS of this event and just gone, maybe I'll give it a miss this time. And at this point, it looks like that Kabam were looking into this. I just find it sometimes a little bit odd that this content doesn't get really thoroughly tested prior to utilization, and whether or not somebody that is doing it is testing it and going like, oh, this is acceptable for the community. I don't really know the parameters of the testing. It would be fascinating to find out that extent, because is it a case of like a business type placement where they go, right, well, this looks quite difficult. People might have to spend revives here. So this means that it's challenging. It's very much skill orientated. It allows you to think about a different character to use. But that is very much rooted at one type of person or several type of people, rather than saying a majority of people. I mean, it's definitely not for beginners, which, let's face it, Kabam are really trying to focus on this month, especially with Endgame and capitalizing on a fresh new beginner player base. Also, it seems that a lot of the thought process that I've had, and also a few other players as well, or a lot of players have had as well, shared with someone like KT1. So this is another Marvel Contest of Champions YouTuber, and I'll be surprised by the time I get this video out to people what everybody's thoughts are on this, as it's just not fun and interactive, as even KT1 puts. And even though a fix is in the works, it is very difficult to say whether or not you will feel that you want to go back into this content. I don't know if it really leaves a sour taste in the mouth, but it does, based on the fact that like people have spent a lot of revives. Are they going to receive any compensation? And it seems to be this is a normal case in practice each month, that something that isn't being really negotiated, I wouldn't say negotiated, but it hasn't been made with the player base in mind. Whether or not this has been made in the process of, well, I don't know. I don't want to go down the route and say, right, this is for financial gain. This is just to be put in there because someone doesn't care enough to think about other people and road testing it. People have even asked me at times, even come to live stream saying, well, how do Kabam go about their testing parameters? What do they do? How do they get this to the player base with them in mind? And the answer is, I have no idea, but I'd be very interested to find out more about how that process is done. Now at this point, I'm not going to go completely doom and gloom, even though it does seem that I have. The fact is, there are other Avengers to consider, and whether or not utilization of a Black Widow, of a Thor, of a Hulk could be a bit better for any given situation. Maybe that's the case. I mean, the downside is you get one champion, so any kind of synergy groupings would not effectively bring one champion into complete overall domination. And I'd love that for that to have been a thing, that we could have used 5 champions and build a synergy group around them. I think in some ways that feels a little bit fairer, especially considering these Infinity Stones aren't exactly powerful for utilization. And yeah, does this say, Kabam are telling us we want you to rank up other champions and it not being about one? The problem is resources are scarce, and if somebody of a lower ranked level who then was very skilled but only had a certain amount of champions, would they feel forced to rank up a certain champion and then go, right, well, when am I going to get my next lot of resources? It's going to be a long ass time. So it's very difficult to pinpoint one specific champion. And like I said, having a synergy group around one said champion with an Infinity Stone would have felt a little bit nicer to use. And yeah, you could have said, right, well, I'll have Hulk, but with a stun team in order to kind of increase the amount and rate of stun that you get off of like certain special attacks. Also, you know, creating something around Thor, creating something around Black Widow, but I guess that's not the thing. It's not the case. A lot of people have different thought processes on this month, and you are entitled to your own opinion. Reading this discussion here, it's a good way of dissecting the whole kind of aspect of the particular path that was put in for Mind. So, Domino, critical failure. Yeah, not exactly the most prettiest thing in the world to be putting in. There's also other opinions in this particular post. Link is in the description, so go and give it a read. There's a good amount of feedback, especially a lot of people talking negatively about this month with what Kabam have put in. And they really did well with bounty missions. It is a shame to then go to another extreme, especially with the Last Stand crystals. So, you know, there's a lot of building that needs to be done, especially to create more consistency with updates, and especially seeing backdraft intercepts working well, SP1 punishing on Sentinel, and as well like a few other bugs that need to be addressed. And I really would wish that that is sorted out as soon as possible. But the question does fall to you. Will you be participating in this particular event? Especially, will you be waiting for other weeks to see if the other Infinity Stones maybe allow you to get through this content a little bit more easily? So, for example, if you've got a 565 Hulk, then will you say that it will probably be able to bulldoze its way through a lot of the other paths? Will the same thing be for Thor, which, you know, we've just had a 5-star Thor being put in, so is that going to be of benefit? What are your thoughts on this matter? Put it in the comments section below. So that has been a video, a bit of a deep dive into this whole kind of situation at the moment, and maybe my own thought process around this event, and also getting together some community ideas of like what they kind of feel about this, whether or not they feel this has been a good little event, a good monthly event, a complimentary type event for stuff with Avengers Endgame, and also new characters in the game. But what are your thoughts? Obviously leave them in the comments section below. Go to the links in the description, as I've said. And my final thought is that this is meant to be a month where Kabam are really pushing for beginners. Now, we have had certain YouTubers covering beginner guides and kind of grinding through on the beginner level, and it may be something I choose to do. I did sign my name up to it, but I haven't decided whether or not I want to do those like beginner guides and stuff, because there, again, maybe something saved for another video, but I think from this video you get an idea of where my thought process, where my head is at the moment with the game. But in any case, thank you very much for watching. I've been RichTheMan. Make sure to like, share and subscribe, and as well follow me on social media, links in the description. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye for now.